Panthers play. Four-man pressure. Brady going long and right. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. Hogan. And they go. The flea flicker. Brady to the end zone. And it's a New England touchdown. Right back. Lewis or Brady, end zone. Hogan. What a catch.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Senior Beat podcast. Today we're joined by two-time Super Bowl champion Chris Hogan, formerly the New England Patriots. He spent this past season catching passes on the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, thanks for joining us, and we're really happy to have you. What have you been doing?
I've been doing pretty well, man. Thanks for having me. As good as expected, I guess. Everyone just quarantined at home with not much to do but hang out with family.
Yeah. Have you been able to get any workouts in or anything?
I've been working out as much as I can. A lot of stuff at home. There are a few fields that are kind of open or available, so I've been able to kind of get outside as much as possible. But just trying to make the best of the situation. I'm in New York. That's where I'm at in the off season. So it's a lot of it's pretty locked down here. So it's been tough, but, making the most of it.
So, we start with, a couple questions about just like the senior thing. Obviously, we're doing this for seniors. We thought it would be really cool if we could connect, professional athletes and like student athletes and stuff like that, just so that it's like a way to bring everybody together in a way.
Sure.
What was your senior year like? Like, what was it like for you?
In high school?
Yeah.
So senior high school, that's the best time of your life, right? It was a cool time for me, being that I was, trying to figure out whether or not I was going to play football or lacrosse in college, going on visits, trying to navigate that whole world where, I really didn't know anything about it. My parents were very new to it. I was new to it. So it was a fun time. It was exciting for me to have those different options available, to go to these great schools, to, do something that I love to do, which was, play football or lacrosse, and having a chance to go to a, school academically was exciting to me. It opened a lot of doors for me personally. I did well in school and in high school, but, sports really opened up even more doors, and it was a fun time.
Going into your senior year for you as a senior athlete, obviously this is it for you in high school, but did it have a different feel for you knowing that you were going to play at the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't make my decision on where I was going to go play in college until really it was the spring of my senior year. So I really waited to the last second, because I really didn't know what I wanted to do athletically. I really didn't know. I was really torn between playing football or lacrosse. So that whole senior year, I took pretty seriously and on and off the field, and went on all the visits and met with all the coaches, and it was an exciting time, from what I remember, and it was something that me personally just had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do my own. My parents were there, and they guided me to whatever was going to make me happy. No one was going to sit there 10 years ago or a long time ago. I'm not going to tell you what's happened when I graduated high school, but no one was going to sit there and tell me that I was going to be in the position that I am at today, when I was making that decision. So, for me, I went with my gut, and at the end of the day, I chose lacrosse, and I went, had 4 amazing years at Penn State, and my senior year was, it was all about kind of setting myself up for, the future. And, that's an exciting time for young athletes and, young individuals that are kind of moving on to the next phase of their life, going on to college.
So what influenced your decision to play football at Monmouth after playing lacrosse at Penn State?
So I had, I had a year of eligibility left. And, I felt like I had done everything that I could have done in the sport of lacrosse as a collegiate athlete. I was on pace to graduate. All my friends were graduating. I really didn't have any interest in coming back. And I had the idea of trying to use that extra year of eligibility to play football, something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to try to walk on at Penn State, just never did it, never tried, and never regretted it. But it was something that I always wanted to do. And so the fall, going into my senior year of college, I started that whole process. And the process was long, and it was stressful, and it was, it was a lot of rules and things that you had to work around with the CAA, and trying to figure out how to transfer and whatnot. But, I just took small steps, contacted my high school football coach, got high school film, sent that back out that I had sent out, 4 years previous, and, see what would have happened. And what happened was a couple of schools were interested in me, and one of those being Monmouth. The other one, another one was school, Syracuse, a school that I had looked at to play lacrosse at. So those schools, I, just took the steps to try to make it work, and Monmouth ultimately ended up being the school that fit. And it was exciting. So my senior year, I was honestly, it was a little bit of a weird senior year for me. In college, I, started to focus more on, football and getting myself ready for that. And, most people went to their senior week. After they graduated, I went home and started training. And that was just it was a goal of mine. It was a dream of mine to play football again. And, I just kind of wanted to put everything I had into it.
At Penn State playing lacrosse, did you ever try and play football there, or were you just looking to transfer?
No, I didn't. I looked at the way the NCAA works. It was a little weird. If I was to graduate, it wouldn't have worked out that I could have stayed there and entered a grad program there.
Okay.
So I ended up, looking at schools, and Monmouth honestly was the best fit. I mean, I'm from Jersey. Monmouth was an hour away from me. So I pretty much was at home playing in a school with kids that I grew up with playing against. So it was a good fit. And, looking back on it, it was probably the best decision that I could have made playing there.
How did your lacrosse skills translate to the football field?
Lacrosse and football are so similar. I mean, the sport obviously has changed a lot, and it's much more fast-paced than when I played. But, the eye-hand coordination, the physicality, change of direction, agility, all of that stuff. I mean, that directly translates to exactly what I did as a receiver or do as a receiver. And, all of that really helped me. I mean, I think that the biggest thing for me was, when I started playing again was, running routes and learning a playbook and, stuff like that I had not done for 4 years. But, getting back into it was pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. Which sport do you think you were better at? When you were playing, when you're deciding between the both, which one did you think you were better at?
I had more accolades than, I was an All-American in lacrosse when I was a senior, and I had good offers for lacrosse, and to me that was a telltale sign that I was better at lacrosse than I was at football. And the offers I had for football were smaller D1 programs, and honestly I had an opportunity to go to Penn State, and I went and visited the school and fell in love with the school. Thought it was going to be a good move for me academically, just because of what they offer and just everything that goes along with attending Penn State. I thought it was, the right move for me and at the time. And, that I get that question all the time. I mean, I love both sports. Playing them was, I had the opportunity to play football and lacrosse at a collegiate level, and it was a lot of fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
You ended up going undrafted. What was your next move to try to get signed by an NFL team?
So the draft happened. It was the lockout year, so it was a bit of an odd year. But I ended up signing with San Francisco immediately after the draft. And from there, it was obviously we didn't go to we went right to training camp, and that started at the end of July. Didn't really get a chance to go to OTAs or anything like that. But I put on a really good pro day previous to the draft, and met with some teams and worked out for a couple of different teams, and got an opportunity in San Francisco. That was my first chance, and it was short-lived, and it was a crash course in what the NFL is like. But I'll never forget that moment. Getting that call and being on a plane. The next morning, flying out to San Francisco, and the next day going right into training camp. That was pretty special.
Describe your time in Buffalo. Obviously, that was your first real home location there for a couple seasons there.
Buffalo was great. I mean, they gave me my first opportunity. That was my first. That was my first team that I flat out made. I had a lot of work to do. I was very raw still at the time, and my first year I played majority just special teams, and from there the next year I played a little bit of receiver and special teams. The year after that I played even more receiver, and the year after that I was pretty much starting. And I just had I had a goal, and my goals and kept getting bigger and bigger every single year that I stuck around there. And I just always always just tried to outwork everybody, because at the end of the day in the NFL, they're always going to bring in younger guys, and they're going to bring in guys that are going to try to take your job. And I always took that a little bit personally. So for me, it was all about just putting the best version of myself, whether it was on the field, classroom, off season, all of that. And Buffalo gave me all those opportunities to do that. And it was a great place for me. I really enjoyed playing there. Sure. Didn't enjoy playing the Patriots twice a year, but it was a great place.
What brought you to choose Carolina last season in free agency?
I had a couple of different options, and I was going back and forth between a couple of different things, and I really thought that Carolina had a lot of pieces to the puzzle. They have a great group of guys there. Unfortunately, I got injured and wasn't able to complete the season with them, but and injuries really just hamstring them, us throughout the season. But the coaching staff loved Ron. Ron was a great coach. Cam was awesome. I mean, playing with Christian and Greg Olsen and all those guys, the second that you meet those guys, you could tell that they just love football, and that's kind of what you want to be around. And, so for me, I thought it was a good opportunity for me to go down there and help a team, win in a different league. I hadn't been out of the AFC East in, almost 7 years. So it was exciting. And, it didn't end up exactly being what I thought it was going to be, but, it was a good experience.
What has free agency been like for you this year?
It's been different. Obviously with everything that's going on, in the world, things have been a little bit slower. You haven't been able to go visit with teams or meet with coaches or, even go for workouts. So things have definitely been different. So for me, it's, just trying to remain patient. It's not easy. Free agency is, definitely not for the weak-minded. I'll be honest with you for that. You obviously want to be, a part of a team and work, and and all these guys are now getting their playbooks and stuff. So I'm looking forward to my next opportunities for wherever it may be. And it's just a waiting game. These teams have to navigate through a lot of different things now with the pandemic that's going on, and they're not able to meet with guys. So I understand that, and I just have to be patient.
Do you have anywhere that you like are leaning towards, or can you not say?
I'm not necessarily going to say where I'm leaning towards, but I have, there are teams that we've talked to that I think would be a great opportunity for me. And, whether or not that happens or not, time will tell.
Was there anyone like in your career who really like mentored you or like helped you along the way?
Oh yeah. There's tons of people. When I was in Buffalo, Fred Jackson was an unbelievable player. And he was like the first guy that I really, looked at as a, true professional. Really, approached, what he did as, this is your job. And he put everything that he had into it. And I learned a lot from him. And there are a lot of guys along my way that, I've just tried to learn from. And especially being a guy that didn't play football in college very much, didn't play receiver in college very much. So I had a lot to learn. So any opportunity that I could to learn from a guy like Stevie Johnson, all those guys, like even, Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, guys that I played with, just took advantage of just talking to them and learning from them. And, Andre Johnson was always, Andre, Reed was always around. So I always would, ask him questions and, try to pick his brain on, how to play receiver. And, obviously when you got to New England, who better to learn from than Tom, so just seeing how he approached the game, his preparation, I learned a lot from these guys, and, stuff that I've, really tried to carry on throughout my career.
Who would you say is like the funniest teammate you have ever played with? Like,
I've played with some goofballs in my time, but Rob ranks up there. That's one of the funniest guys I've been around. The guys, people always ask me about Rob and what it was like to play with him, and they always ask about all these guys that he played with. And Rob always just had a smile on his face. He was just happy to be around the guys, and he loved everything about the sport and everything that came with it. And he was fun to be around.
What teammate at any point in your career would you say did you have the best relationship with?
I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of make a lot of friendships in this league, even though I've bounced around. And I really got close with the guys down in Carolina this year. Luke and Greg and Christian, just very similar guys to me. And playing with Danny and Jules and those guys, like those are guys that I'm going to talk to for the rest of my career. And Tom and people that I can reach out and text and just talk to as a friend and not as a teammate. I think that's something that is can be rare in this league to actually form relationships with. Always constantly reaching out to Slater and McCourty and those guys and just checking up and seeing how they're doing. Those guys are people that I would hopefully be in touch with for the rest of my life, just because they're good guys and they're fun to be around.
What has been your favorite memory in the NFL so far?
Winning the first Super Bowl with New England was obviously something that I never thought was going to happen in my career. Never in my life did I imagine I was going to be playing in a Super Bowl, let alone win in that fashion. That was a pretty that was probably the memorable moment for me. But there's also moments where I remember getting my first catch in San Francisco, gaining 0 yards, but came off the field with a huge smile on my face. My first touchdown, which ironically came against the Patriots in Buffalo. Those types of things, those moments, you remember for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with Brady? Brady like? What was your relationship?
It was great. It kept forming, over the 3 years that I was there. And like I said, I learned so much from Tom and just the way that he approaches the game. And, I was always asking him questions. Obviously it was how he wants things run was the most important question of them all, so that I could do my job and, he would look my way. And, but Tom was just such an approachable guy. Like, no matter who you were, no matter if you're practice squad, new guy, he went out of his way to say hello to you, to know your name, to do all these things that, probably people wouldn't even think that he'd take the time of day to do. And, he did it on a day in and day out basis. And, playing with him for those 3 years was, some of the best years of my career. And, those are things that, I'll be able to look back on and say that I got to play with, one of the best quarterbacks ever.
What was your reaction with Brady to Tampa? Like, when you saw that, what was your reaction?
I reached out to him right away, and, I was happy for him. I was, for me personally, I've been on that side of things where, I wasn't necessarily playing for a team for the last 20 years, but, I moved on and played on a different team. And, it's an exciting time for an athlete to, be in a new system, learn a new playbook, be around new teammates. And, I'm sure that, he got right to work and he's pretty excited about it. So, it'll be a little different seeing him in a different jersey. And, I know a lot of people didn't want to see that, but, he's a competitor. That's one thing that I always take away from him is that guy competed in anything and everything. And, he wanted to compete, and he had an opportunity to, continue his career and in a different league and with a different team. And, he's going to bring that same competitiveness down to Tampa that he had in New England. And I'm sure he's going to make them a better football team.
What about Gronk? Obviously, he retired, and now he's going to go play with Brady in Tampa. Was that a shock for you?
Not really. But, I always got a feeling that Gronk loves football. This game is tough. It's tough on your body, mentally, physically. And, I think for a guy that, has been through a lot, in his career, needed a break. And, for anyone that's played this game, can understand that. And, he was able to take a break and kind of, get his body back to where he, felt good and felt healthy. And, him coming back and playing football didn't really surprise me. I mean, he loves this game. He loves playing. He loves competing. And who better to do that with than Brady,
So what was the energy like in the locker room at halftime of Super Bowl 51 when you were down 21-3 against the Falcons?
It was pretty brutal at first. It kind of like – it was kind of like one of those situations where, you couldn't really believe that it was happening, but it happened. And, we had to move on. We couldn't sit there and sulk about it and point fingers. And that wasn't going to do us any good. So I think when we got into halftime, everyone kind of took a breather, kind of relaxed a little bit. And then after that, it was all, let's go. I mean, we played the worst half of football that we played all year. And, to win this football game, we're just going to have to go out and play the best half of football that we have all year. And that was the mindset. And everyone just kind of bought into doing that and to trying to make plays. And, a lot of things went our way, and, we were able to kind of chip away, and, and no one blinked though. That was the special thing about that team. No one really ever blinked, no matter what the situation was. Just because you believe in one another, and we obviously did, and we just had to find a way to win.
What was that like, being able to make up that deficit and win your first Super Bowl?
It was crazy. I mean, to put it, it was, the fact that we were able to do that, something that just doesn't really happen in football games when you're down by that much. When we were able to tie the game, and then we won the coin toss in overtime, I knew it was over at that time. We just, everyone was doing everything right. We were firing all cylinders. Everyone was playing well. We were, everyone was feeling really good. We had, prepped for all of this all year long. No one was gassed. Everyone was, healthy and had so much stamina going into that overtime. I knew we were in a good position. And, when we called that play down the goal line for James to score the winning touchdown, that's something that you practice, all year round. And,
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where you call a play, and obviously it takes 11 guys to everyone doing their job. But I was like, if everyone does their job right now, we're going to score this touchdown. And, we did, and it was a very surreal moment.
You played in multiple different Super Bowls, 1, 2. Is it hard to control your nerves during these big games, or does it just feel like another game?
I think, there's a lot of things leading up to the game, and, the games are longer with all the commercials and the game stoppages. But so that's can be a challenge. But I would say that once the first kickoff happens, it just turns into another football game. Obviously the stakes are higher, and, at the end of the day, there's not going to be another football game after that for the year. But, for me, it was, it just turned into another football game. And, you practice, and you put so much effort into it, going into those games, you just, you don't want to hold anything back. And that's really how I approach those games.
What was it like playing under a coach like Bill Belichick? Was it hard?
Yeah, it's tough. Playing in this league is tough, and playing, for Bill can be tough at times. But Bill is is the best coach I've ever been around. He prepares his team like no one I've ever been around for any situation that could possibly happen in a football game. He expects a lot of you, and in return, his players want to give their best. He creates good football teams, and he puts good football players on the field. And if you're able to do your job, and you're able to, not focus on yourself as an individual, but just as the whole team, and trying to understand what you're trying to accomplish as a team, that's all that that he really cares about. And playing for him was fun. Obviously it can be hard at times if he's getting into you, and but he's only doing that, in my opinion, that he wants you to play better. He wants the best out of his players, and I learned a lot from him.
Sure. How long did it take you to learn the Patriots offense?
It takes time, but I knew that going into it. And, for me, I really think it's really just about putting in the effort, studying and taking the extra time to go over the playbook and to ask people questions. And, everyone has their own way of studying and their own way of learning. And for me, it was just about repetition. And the more chances that I got on the field and in the classroom, it all just started to click. And, it's a constant learning curve, and you're always learning new plays and you're always learning new techniques and everything. But for me, I just had to, stick my face in the playbook for, a couple hours, each night when I first got there, and just kind of continuously go over it. And, I was able to pick it up. I mean, obviously there are things that you're always going to have to continue to look over. And that's just part of, doing your job as a football player, and holding myself accountable to, really knowing the playbook was something I took pretty seriously.
Have you ever seen any kind of weird pregame ritual like that someone does before a game?
You know what? I haven't really seen anything too crazy. There's guys that are, they'll wear the same undershirt and, be particular about the socks that they wear and that kind of stuff. But I didn't really see any crazy superstitions.
You had to pick one player in NFL history to be your GOAT, your greatest of all time. Who would you pick?
My what?
Your GOAT, your greatest of all time.
Tom.
Tom?
Easily.
So you've worn 15 for years now. Why do you wear that number? Does it hold significance to you?
I wore 19 in college, wore 24 in football in high school, and when I got to Buffalo, 15 was available, 19 wasn't. Really doesn't have any significance behind it other than it's my wife's birthday today, so maybe subconsciously that's why I picked it. But no, I mean, 15 really it brought me good fortune, so I stuck with it for my career.
That's a good answer. Was there anyone in the NFL that inspired you to want to get to that level?
Watching, I'm from New York, so growing up and watching Wayne Corbett, obviously Jerry Rice, all those guys, I always loved playing. But, the thing that I loved about those guys too was, I always used to kind of take notice of or read about their different work ethics and just how they trained in the off season and all that kind of stuff. And those are the things that I really looked at and learned about. These guys just didn't, roll it out there and, were the best, in their position. They worked hard at what they, at it, and, they put a lot into it. And I knew that if I was to even get to a level like that, it was going to require a lot of work. And that's something that I, at a young age really, adopted.
What is your favorite thing to do off the field? Do you have any fun hobbies you do or anything?
So my off seasons really, I mean, I spent with my family. We live apart during the year. I have 3 kids, and I have twin 3-year-olds and a 7-month-old. And, my wife and I, we've always lived apart. She's a doctor back in New York. So when she was in med school and now she's starting her own practice, we've always lived apart. So, we don't get to see each other a lot, but so when I come home in the off season, I try to spend as much time with them as I can, and, going to the beach in the summer and playing golf whenever I get a free moment. That's, those are the things that I like to do.
What are your thoughts on the extra game starting next season?
I mean, it's another opportunity for guys to play. And, I think guys just have to take care of their bodies. I think that's really what it comes down to. I mean, it's, a lot of people are indifferent about it, and don't get me wrong, it's playing another game during a season, is definitely, it's tough. It's not easy to go out there and, play a full game. It's, your risk of injury and all that kind of stuff. You're always at risk when you go out there on the field. But, I think I've always tried to teach these young guys, that, your body is an investment. And if you're able to take care of it and you're investing time into making sure that you feel good throughout the year and take care of yourself in the off season and prepare yourself, then, you're trying to prevent injury is, the name of the game. And if you're able to stay healthy, you can stick around a lot longer.
What are your thoughts on the new playoff format? Not starting this year, but the next.
I think it's awesome. You see it every single year. A lot of good teams, that, obviously could be in the playoffs or have a chance to be in the playoffs, don't quite get there. And, I think it definitely raises the stakes a little bit for, in the leagues. And, it'll be, I think it'll be fun, to have, that playoff format and, to add the extra teams into the playoffs. Playoff football is different, man. It's exciting, and there's a lot more on the line. And, I think it'll be good for the sport.
All right. So in Super Bowl 52, when did you learn that Malcolm Butler wasn't going to play in that game?
I wasn't aware. It was kind of like one of those things that, you're very wrapped up in the game itself, and you realize that one of your better players is not on the field. I don't know the reason really why, but it wasn't my call, and I always believed in Bill and what he did for our football team. So just one of those things, I guess.
So if the money were the same, would you rather be playing professional lacrosse or football?
It's a good question. Don't know. I love both sports, and I love playing football. I mean, for me, lacrosse came very natural to me when I first started playing, and football is something that I have to continuously work at and put a lot of time into, and I enjoy that whole process. And if I had the best of both worlds, I'd just play both.
Yeah.
Your career, did you have a favorite city to play in?
Yeah, Kansas City was awesome.
Really?
That AFC Championship game was loud.
Yeah.
It was intense. I mean, my time in Buffalo was awesome. I mean, rain, shine, snow, sleet, that stadium was packed. And the same goes for New England. I mean, it was all those cities were so much fun to play with. The fans are amazing. Training camp, obviously, in New England was so much fun. There's thousands of people that show up at training camp, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Did you know you hold the Patriots franchise record?
For yards in a playoff game?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. No, yeah, I did. I knew that, going after that game, someone had mentioned that to me, and don't worry, I'll be sure to bring my son to Gillette Stadium just to make sure that he knows that Dad played football, even though he'll be watching that game, I'm sure, a ton of times after I'm done playing. But yeah, it's pretty special. Who knows how long it'll last, but it's pretty cool that I can put my name in the record books in such a organization like the Patriots.
I hope nobody breaks it.
Yeah.
All right, so we have one more question for you to just kind of bring it full circle. So if there was anything you could tell the seniors that are going through this right now, what would you tell them?
I imagine being a senior in high school right now, especially with everything that's going on. I mean, I know it's tough. This time in your life, you can't really. It's tough to see into the future and to see, that you'll look back on this time and it'll be a small part of your life. But I would just say that you just got to take every day as a blessing, and that if you're able, you're healthy, your future and everything that's gonna happen after this is gonna be such a big part of your life. And hopefully you have plans for college, and even if you don't, you just have to look at it with a positive attitude and always try to see the best in things and be able to, take every day, just day by day. Don't try to, solve the world's problems in 24 hours because it just doesn't work like that. And as much as I tried to do that in the past, being able to, work on something little every single day and to, just try to, put the best version of myself forward and really just be true to myself as a person, as a man, as an athlete. I think that's the most important.
Well, that just about wraps up our episode. So thank you to Chris Hogan for taking the time to do this interview with us.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Peyton made an appearance.
Well, good luck in free agency and good luck next season. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and like us on Facebook.
Thanks, guys.